Hey, community group leaders and teachers, I hope you're doing well and having a fabulous day. Hey, I am excited to introduce this week's Leadership Minute. This is one more tool you can have in your tool belt to lead more effectively. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been looking at Paul and his unique relational appeal to everyone around him. The way God uniquely wired Paul in writing the New Testament, that he intentionally invested in people all around him everywhere he traveled. And I want to look at that and look at ways that we can maybe extrapolate some models from him in impacting how we lead other people around us and how we can invest wisely in other people around us. You know, we looked a couple weeks ago at how Paul had this intentional model of investing in people one-on-one, where he would grab Timothy and invest in him personally, or Titus, or other people. How Paul would intentionally have a group of traveling companions that would go with him from place to place. Last week we looked at this concept. And in the process of doing so, they would do ministry together. They would serve together in those places. This week, I want to take that one step further and look at how Paul invested in people, into a small group. How he would take 2 or 3 people with him and invest in them. So one of the best places you can look at that and see how that happened was when Paul was in prison in Rome. Paul had probably just a couple of people with him. Timothy was probably with him. Onesimus was probably with him, a couple of others. Now, how do you know that? You might ask. Well, if you look at a couple of the prison letters, specifically if you look at Philippians, you look at Colossians, you look at Philemon, you can see that Paul lists a couple other people with him as he's writing. Philemon, the little letter from Paul in jail to Philemon, the man who hosted the house church in Colossae, where the letter of Colossians was written to, he lists Onesimus as the person that was the bearer of that letter. Onesimus was probably also the bearer of the letter to the Colossian community, and Paul lists Timothy as a co-writer of that work in his introduction. So chances are Timothy and Onesimus were with Paul for at least a portion of his time while he was in prison. And in that time, no doubt, he invested in them, he poured his heart and soul into them. He taught them what he knew about Jesus and Jesus crucified and risen from the dead, and how that could impact them and their leadership, their way that they influence other people around them. From that, I would suggest that one of the things we should do is we should set aside time intentionally to invest in a few people around us, to grab 2 or 3 people, not just one person to do one-on-one, but also look for ways to do one-on-small. Look on ways to do for a small group of 1-on-2, 1-on-3, 1-on-4, something like that. To grab people together, to share with them what you know, who Jesus is, how Jesus has impacted you. Ask how that happened in other people. I mean, other people have this exact same model throughout history. So we can look at Jonathan Edwards and his model of conferences. We could look at a guy named Philip Jacob Spener and his model of doing conventicle groups or small groups. You can look at other people throughout the ages who had different models like this. But the point is this: as we intentionally invest in other people, that God will use that, multiply our faith in them to help more people exponentially in greater capacity know Jesus and run after him. That's my prayer for each of us, that we would have an incredible ability to increase our impact as we invest in other people around us. If you have any questions about this or any other Leadership Minute, feel free to reach out to me. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Hey, blessings, friends.